Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Genesis 2, verse 8. And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in Eden, in the east, and there he placed the man whom he had formed. This verse is the introduction of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, not just a physical paradise, but in the view of the Zohar, a supernal archetype, a spiritual reality containing the inner light of creation. This verse speaks of more than a location. It introduces the divine interface, the meeting place between heaven and earth, the soul and the source. The first phrase, we have, and Yahweh Elohim planted. This is divine planting as spiritual seeding. The Zohar emphasizes that God is described here as a planter, not a builder or maker. Planting represents life, growth, and hidden unfolding. It suggests a living system rooted in the supernal soil of the world of emanation. What God plants is not just trees, it is the matrix of spiritual consciousness, a system that unfolds life, wisdom, and divine pleasure. This planting hints at the Sephirotic tree, whose branches manifest as all aspects of creation. Next phrase, we have a garden in Eden. Eden as supernal source, the garden as vessel. The Zohar makes a profound distinction between Eden and garden. Eden represents the primordial divine delight, the hidden fountain of infinite pleasure, symbolic of Chokmah, divine wisdom. The garden represents the channel or field where that hidden delight is made manifest, corresponds to Binah or Malkuth, depending on level. Eden is never entered, but the garden receives from Eden. Zohar Bereshit 27a. In other words, Eden is the source, unknowable and transcendent. The garden is where that light becomes accessible, enjoyable, and experiential for the soul. The next phrase we have in the east. This is origin of light and consciousness. The word Mikedem, translated as in the east, also means from Kedem, which means from the beginning or from the ancient one, in Hebrew Atik Yomin. This refers to the supernal origin, primordial wisdom, and pure divine light. So this phrase tells us that the garden was planted with energy from the Ancient One, drawing directly from the highest root of divine will and delight. Thus, the Garden of Eden is not a terrestrial paradise, but a channel from the upper worlds into embodied reality. The next phrase we have, and there he placed the man whom he had formed, centering the soul in the interface. The Zohar teaches that placing Adam in the garden means placing the soul into a state of potential divine union. Adam which represents the soul, is inserted between Upper Eden, which represents infinite light, and the garden represents manifest world. These are tasked with channeling divine flow into form. God placed Adam in the garden to connect upper and lower worlds. This is the mystical role of Adam Harishon, to serve as the unifying conduit, the living tree that links all levels of being. The mystical symbol behind this verse is the garden as the Shekinah. The Zohar frequently identifies the garden with the Shekinah. Just as the garden receives from Eden, the Shekinah receives from the upper Sephiroth. She is the divine presence in the world, the channel through which souls access the light of Eden. Placing Adam in the garden is thus symbolic of placing the soul within the embrace of the Shekinah, where it is nurtured, guided, and prepared for conscious divine service. Genesis 2 verse 8, through the lens of the Zohar, is not about the beginning of agriculture or landscape. It is the revelation of the divine interface, the Garden of Eden, a sacred space where infinite divine delight flows into experienceable reality. God plants this space, not builds, because it must be alive, organic, and capable of growing consciousness. The garden receives its essence from the east, which the Zohar reads as from Kedem, the Ancient of Days, the root of all light and wisdom. The garden becomes the Shekinah, the indwelling presence, a place where the soul is placed not to relax, but to fulfill its purpose, to serve as a unifying force between the upper and lower worlds, between transcendent Eden and the immanent garden. To be placed in Eden is to be given the opportunity for divine intimacy, but also the responsibility of divine alignment. The garden is not only a paradise, it is a spiritual arena, and you, like Adam, are placed there to grow it. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your donation. Be blessed, everyone, and I will see you on the next episode.